And Tampa Bay Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins, our weather briefing for this evening. We've got a lot to talk about because we've got more rain than anything else, to be honest with you, coming our way, especially as we get into Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Today was a soggy day already, although we are drying out a little bit in some locations. Tomorrow, about a 50 to 60% chance for rain, not quite as much as we've seen. But Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we've got a lot of tropical moisture spinning in and rotating into the area, and I think that trend will continue. At least through Friday. Friday, we'll have to see. It may start to dry up a little bit. So let's talk about it. Right now, this is from the Hurricane Center, and you can see this yellow area that they've what we called hatched. And what this means is that inside this area, there may be tropical development over the next 7 days. And they're saying 0% chance for the next 2 days, but a 20% chance that we do get something to develop in here at one point. This doesn't mean this is where all the weather will be, although that is where most of the weather will be. This is just an area that they're looking at. They're saying some models think something develops over here, some kind of think something develops over here, some develop a low right over the land, which wouldn't develop or intensify because it's over land. But the bottom line is we're going to have an old frontal boundary sit over top of us, and that's going to give us a chance for some tropical development. Now look, there's a ton of moisture out there right now. And if you notice, not only storms out over the Gulf, but we're getting them to fire up over land in North Florida and push some more moisture down towards the south with the upper level winds blowing it in that direction. What we're thinking is we're going to see just more rain than anything else. There may actually be a little bit of development. It's hard to tell now if it's going to be in the Gulf or if it's going to be over on the Atlantic side. But anytime this time of year, when you look at water temperatures, these are all in the low 80s out here. And you get all of this moisture just sitting out here, eventually it starts to spin up a little bit. And that's what, in fact, we look for tropical development. So we do have a weather impact alert for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. All day, all 3 days. May have to extend this into the weekend, although at least the European model says we get a little bit of drier air in by late Friday. 4th of July is Friday. I know we're keeping our eye on it, but that's where we sit at this particular point. So all that moisture sitting there now. The rain that we have out now has started to fall apart. You can see up towards Citrus County, eastern Hernando, we've got a little bit of light shower activity. But for the most part, I think it should be falling apart over land, and it will pick back up over the water as we move through the overnight hours, which, by the way, is pretty tropical. So the atmosphere is kind of juicing up a little bit here and looking like it should if you wanted something to develop. We had some showers, some really light rain develop this afternoon, Manatee, Sarasota County, southern Hardy and DeSoto, but you can see that's starting to fall apart as well. So the next 12 hours, it's only a small chance for shower. I can't rule it out overnight, but generally it's only about a 20% chance as we move through the overnight hours. Now, this is the big picture. And so actually there's a front getting ready to cross the Mississippi River. You see that frontal boundary there. Now this is tonight into tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, okay? Eventually, we continue to have all this moisture in here, but by Thursday and Friday, we get this front to stall. And when it does, this is textbook. We look on the back ends of these fronts for tropical development. What happens is you've got wind coming like this and wind coming like that, right? And so what happens? You get a low to develop. And plus you have showers and thunderstorms going off here all week. Okay, so you're lowering pressures to begin with. And then you put this front in there and you set up the winds to get the low level circulation going. So that's the reason why there's a small chance, only 20% chance, okay? The good news about if any of these things develop, generally when they develop in close here, they don't have time to get strong and do much damage. So even if you did get something to develop, which it's not a sure bet at all at this point, it would be mainly a rainmaker and less of a wind maker, okay? This is by Friday night into Saturday, so we kind of drew in a low potentially here, but look, it's actually starting to look like there's more of a chance to have a low sitting out here. And that's why that Hurricane Center says from here all the way across the state over to here. Okay, so yeah, it may get something in here, right? This is the European model, obviously. And then you can see as we move into Sunday, there it is there. Looks like something trying to develop. I don't see much in the Gulf. The GFS has something developing and going straight over to Texas. But that's as far as the model will go out now through Monday. So this is our local forecast model. So let's kind of time out the rain for us. You can see what's happening now. This is tonight at 11 o'clock, tending to dry out a little bit. But by tomorrow morning, a few showers along the coast. Tomorrow afternoon, a relatively drier day. Most of the day. I think most of the rain's out over the Gulf. But this is about 1 o'clock, and we'll see a few pop-up showers after that. And then this is about 5, 6, 7 o'clock. That's when we'll have our better chance for rain tomorrow. You can see the coverage. Again, I went about 50 to 60%. especially Tampa southward. But then some of that will be heavy at times. And that's something that we'll have to watch for. We've seen some decent rain today, but we're going to get some good downpours again for tomorrow. I am not expecting severe weather for tomorrow. All right, so I think we're fine as far as that's concerned. Now, let's go out to Wednesday morning. Basically, what was that? I'm sorry. Basically, drying up. And so then we will look at more rain coming in by the time we get into the afternoon. Okay? This is about 1 o'clock Wednesday. So now there's actually more moisture in the atmosphere to work with. So the rain that you see here is actually going to be a little bit heavier. And that's when I really think we're going to have to start watching. We may even end up with like a flood watch or something like that. Again, nothing severe is anticipated out of this. But sometimes when you get this southwest flow, you can get waterspouts, weak waterspouts that blow onshore. It's something we'll keep an eye on, especially Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But look, this is 6 o'clock Wednesday. So we start our weather impact alert. That's our heads up to you. It's a little bit more than normal, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. If you've got plans, those are the days you need to really focus in, because look at all that rain through even the evening hours. This is 3 in the morning. There'll still be some rain coming in. So it'll be very warm, muggy, tropical with scattered showers. This is early on Thursday morning, around 8 o'clock. Look at the rain developing again, and it will push onshore, and that will go out further, but we think Thursday and Friday are the wet ones. Look at this. This is from the Weather Prediction Center. This is a 7-day forecast for rainfall. Okay, it's kind of a blend of the models. These numbers in here in orange that you see here, that's upwards of 6 inches, 5 to 6 inches, okay? So we're talking 4 to 6 inches, the highest amount along the coast. Obviously less as the further inland that you go. This does not include storm surge. We're not talking storm surge. We're not talking anything like that. The winds that I've seen have been maybe 15 to 20 miles per hour. You get that in the afternoon. So this is not a wind, this is not a surge thing, this is a rainfall event at this time, okay? So put your nerves at ease, and I know after the season we had last year that's something to talk about. Now, this is a harder one to see because I'm comparing two of the models here. The green line's the European model, the white is the GFS, and this is a trough coming down. It's a very, I don't want to say odd, but we don't see this type of long trough up and down the East Coast like this for a while. But what we would be looking for is a bunch of circles sitting here or here. That would indicate when we have a hurricane, right? Or a tropical storm or a tropical depression. This is through Thursday night. There's not a lot of anything. There's just not, I mean, look, the GFS is like maybe, the Euro's like maybe, the GFS is maybe. There's just nothing. And let's go all the way out through Saturday and the Sunday. This is early Monday morning, still nothing. You see a couple little things here. So bottom line, if this was something that was going to be tropical that you'd be worried about, you'd see something like this, like that, right? You'd see a bunch of lines in a circle. We don't have that right now on the forecast model, so that's a really good thing. All right, next 12 hours, isolated showers as we go through the overnight hours for tonight. Again, just warm, just kind of tropical. Not a whole lot of rain. I don't expect that right now for this evening. That weather impact alert, this is the wrong one. You don't want to see that one. Here's the rainfall total for the European model. Oh, it's not going to show up here. Let's go look at the there it is. So that's the one from the Weather Prediction Center. Because of this, that much rainfall expected, we get what's called an excessive rainfall outlook. And this is today. We've already seen most of our rain for today. But this is tomorrow, and it changes a little bit, but not much. It just moves up a little bit further to the north. It's mainly along the coast. Not a big deal. Tomorrow is our driest day of this week, by the way. Okay, now Wednesday starts coming in, especially North Florida, Tampa, I-4 northward. Thursday, the yellow starts showing up. That's a slight risk for excessive rainfall. So we're talking potential for flooding rainfall. And Thursday and Friday, I could see, let's go out to Friday here. I could see us getting a flood watch for both of those days. All right, it's Florida. We can handle a lot of rain, but overall, we're talking 4 to 6 inches. You know, when Helene went by, it had a lot of wind. It was a hurricane. It blew all the storm surge, but we got about 1 to 3 inches of rainfall with Helene. We're not going to get any surge with this, but we are going to get more rainfall than what even that brought. Now, Milton, remember Milton came through. That was about 10 to 16 inches of rain. So we're not talking that. We're talking about 4 to 6, but I do think it would cause some minor flooding, and the rivers are going to swell a little bit on the backside of that. Here's one of the reasons why. Look at the darker green. You see all that? That is Wednesday, 2 o'clock. And this number here, 2.13, this is what's called precipitable water. That's what the PW stands for. This is the amount of moisture over top of us at any given time at this time, okay? Anytime that number gets over 2 inches, you're talking a lot of moisture. And that means if you get rain, when you have high PW, you can get heavy rainfall and the type that tends to do some flooding. This is Thursday, even more, right? Look at that, 2.32. That, we don't see that a lot around here. We get some of the highest in the country, okay, just because of where we are. We're tropical, and that's a pretty high number. I rarely see that number. Now let's go into Friday. We still have a lot of moisture around, but here's the key. Watch what happens as we move into, this is Friday, 6 p.m. This is the European model. See that dry air coming in right there by 11 p.m. Friday night in the Saturday morning? If that happens, that will take a lot of the moisture away and dry us out a little bit at least for the weekend. This is Saturday. This is Sunday afternoon. You see some of the moisture returning Sunday. But overall, the weekend does look like it's going to be a little bit on the drier side. So the European model forecast as far as rainfall coverage goes, I might even drop it to 50% for tomorrow. I think 50 to 60 is actually kind of high, but certainly Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are our rainy days. You can see the coverage there on Saturday. I think a lot of that will likely be early Saturday morning, probably even before the sun comes up. And then we'll have some drier air. Now, what will happen both Saturday and Sunday, if the model holds now, which is probably going to change a little bit, we will get afternoon showers and storms, okay? More typical of what you would expect. Still some good storms, but nothing like what we'll see the heavy rainfall between now and then. So there's tomorrow's forecast, 40 to 50% chance for rain. There is a little bit in the morning, probably mid to late morning, and then a better chance late in the afternoon, 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock for those afternoon showers and storms. It's just a little bit more lift in the atmosphere because we've had some heating, and we've already got all the moisture in place, so it helps to make more storms. Barry has gone in, all right? Went down into Mexico. That is not a tropical issue for us. It's right in here. We're not even showing anything on the models anymore. There is some dust around. I don't know if you noticed it over the weekend, but the sky was really kind of hazy. There was some dust around, and a lot of times that dries things out. But unfortunately, in this case, that's not going to do that as much, right? And so that's why, and in fact, if we go into Thursday and Friday, it really erodes, and that's not going to help us out too much. We do look at this for long range. We're looking next week. We've got more coming across the Caribbean and even in the Gulf to hopefully keep our development chances down, and that's kind of where we're at with it right now. There's the 7-day forecast. Weather impact alert does include the 4th of July. I just showed you on that thing that it looks like from our futurecast that now maybe closer to 7 or 8 o'clock we would start to dry things out. It is way too far out in time to be any kind of specific about fireworks on Friday, okay? The trend now is, well, good one. Maybe we get some dry air in time, but we've got a lot of time to go look at that. Let's talk about a little bit of the local radar now. We are seeing a few of those showers. Everything I've seen out there at this point is light. I don't expect to see many big downpours here for the rest of the evening commute, so if you're expecting somebody home, I think the normal times for them today. In fact, it's starting to really kind of quiet down. There are some slow-moving thunderstorms over on the East Coast, something they're going to have to deal with. We are cloudy, at least for the most part. You can see the beach right now showing some holes in the clouds. Trying to get some. I saw a little glimpse of sunshine this afternoon. Downtown St. Pete, kind of similar shot there. You can see some holes at the very top. So not a terrible evening out there for sure. I think did we lose our, no we didn't. We got our camera there, yeah. The airport looks pretty good. I've had a lot of questions about delays, people flying in and out Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. There will be some issues, but you can't really control or even forecast what they're going to have at the airport. But those are the days that we'll see the heavier rain. Again, we're not talking a lot of wind, that type of thing. We're talking more than anything else, just the heavier rainfall at times. And there'll be some good thunderstorms in there at times, and of course that can give you a little bit of that mix. Up into Citrus County, we're drying things out. Watch what's happening along the coast here for Pasco. A couple showers, and some of those are getting over into US 19. That would be over Port Richey area up towards Hudson. And then we've got a lot brewing here off of Crystal River. I think Crystal River down to Sugar Mill Woods, all the way down probably to Pine Island, is probably going to be one of the bullseyes for the heaviest rain over the next 4 to 5 days. Just because where you're sitting right next to this, where it's all developing. And we're getting a good little spin that kind of throws it back on shore. You can see how that's pushing right these. See those, how they drift to the northeast? That's going to be where we end up seeing more of the rainfall. Now, what does it look like offshore? You're going to see some spins. I actually saved one on the radar earlier today because I wanted to put it on social media. By the way, Bobby Deskins Weather on Facebook, Instagram, Bobby D Weather on Twitter or X. But you're going to see some spins out here. That doesn't necessarily mean something's developing tropically. All right, we have these little meso lows that develop. I want to see, there was one earlier, see if I can go back. Let's go back about 6 hours. There it is. So watch here off the St. Pete coastline. So what I'm talking about is this area right in here. Okay, watch that area as I go back and forth. This is going to go back. So here's the rain falling apart. You can see it spinning counterclockwise right there. So you will see that. And the Hurricane Center says there's a 20% chance of tropical development here. And you think, oh, there it is. No, that happens when you have large thunderstorms, a big group of them. If that continues to happen, that is part of the process that you get for developing something tropically, okay? It's not there yet. Pressures will be lowering. We'll get that frontal boundary. We still don't have the frontal boundary in here, okay? It's way up to the north. In fact, where is it plotted up here? So look at that. That's the front. That is the front that eventually will stall out down here. Excuse me. Water vapor is showing kind of an interesting setup with a high pressure, or low pressure, excuse me, off to our east. Again, remember that? We had that last week, and look what's happening. Doing it again, right? This is what backed off last weekend when we saw all the rain. Remember, it backed across the state. We actually had some strong thunderstorms Monday and Tuesday. Same setup now, which also means that, you know, we're going to be dealing with this through this upcoming weekend, probably through Saturday and the Sunday. And then the models and long-term models say, well, maybe we do it again a week from now. And look, that's what the weather likes to do. It's repeating this upper level low here. And it's probably going to repeat something like this, which is basically another trough dipping down here and giving us more rainfall. So if I was a bet man, I'd say obviously it's soggy this week through Friday and the Saturday. I would imagine that probably next weekend is something similar. The dates I saw were like the 12th, 13th, and 14th of July. But that's long-range model forecasting at that point, so you don't really can't buy into that whole much. But that is a ton of rain out there over the Gulf. So Barry, by the way, went in south down here into Mexico, but look at all the rain that's moved out into South Texas. They're getting heavy rains, especially out in the Corpus Christi area, although it does look like it's starting to fall apart. But that's tropical moisture coming in for them. Barry, I think the most I saw was 40-mile-per-hour winds, maybe 45 at one point before it made landfall. So that's where we're at right now for the rest of the evening. Keep in mind that we'll be basically, a few isolated showers here or there. This is for your planning purposes right now to keep Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday open for weather updates. You're going to want to know what things are changing. And actually, that's a great point because things will change quite a bit. And I think that the flooding that's going to come out here, it's going to be those normal spots. If you live in a neighborhood where you know when you get heavy rain, that intersection tends to flood. Bayshore Boulevard. There is a decent chance that some of those areas flood. Now, when we had the hurricanes, especially after Milton, we had 10 to 16 inches of rainfall. I don't see that much rain. So I know you may be worried because the last time you saw flooding, and we're not talking storm surge here, there's no storm surge, but from rainfall, remember Debbie. Debbie went through Manatee and Sarasota counties and just dumped a ton of rain. There's all kinds of flooding. Well, that was almost 20 inches. We're not talking about that, okay? So this is not going to be as bad as any of those tropical systems, at least doesn't look like at this point. But a solid 4 to 6, that to me is basically a tropical storm coming onshore. We would kind of start out just guesstimating and say, oh, tropical storm's coming, we'll get 4 to 6 inches of rain. And that's kind of what we're forecasting at this particular time. So whether it is kicking up any wind or not, we're going to get some of that rainfall. So just keep that in mind. The drought situation, we've improved. And of course, as you can imagine, this is definitely going to put a dent into that. And I think we will probably end up being pretty much done by the time we get into next week. They update this on Thursday, and I don't think the data actually is through Tuesday. So even when they update it this Thursday, this is not going to change a whole lot. But by the time we get into next week, next Thursday when this is updated, it's definitely going to look a whole lot better, which is good. And you know what? That's what tropical systems do. If you're in Manatee, Sarasota County, light rainfall there. I haven't seen anything in the way of thunderstorms. I don't see anything now, at least not there. There are a couple when you get out here in the southeastern Polk County, but they've fallen apart. That one just there north of Avon Park, Indian Lakes Estates, is fallen apart. So good news there. And obviously the Bay Area is just seeing some light rainfall, and that is just about it. Let's see, what else? I was wanting to show the European here. And it's going to pop up here in just a second. That is going to show the data is not going to come in. Okay, I can't do that one. All right. But that is going to be that area to watch. The Hurricane Center updates that. I think it's 2 o'clock and maybe 8 o'clock, that 20% chance. I don't expect that changes anytime soon. Tomorrow they may bump it up maybe just a little bit. We're looking at models, and we do not see a whole lot of models suggesting a whole lot of development. We look at ensembles as well, and those are telling us that a couple of models say, well, 1 or 2 say west of us in the Gulf, and 2 or 3 say east of us out there in the Atlantic. So something to watch. One side effect of all of this is we will stay cool. I don't know if you noticed on the forecast, but the temperature, the high temps were in the 80s, and that's because of all of the clouds. And so you can take solace, at least it's not going to be as hot, right? With all the clouds, 94 right now in Dallas. It's a scorcher for anybody that's just dealing with afternoon showers and storms. The graph was just updating. This is our forecast model. I'll show you that one more time. We'll go through the timing of the rain. Let's take it out, and I kind of zoomed it out here so you can see the bigger picture. This is 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Notice what's happening up near Citrus County, and that's why I was saying I think you get more rain than anything else, just because you're kind of near where the center of this rotation is kind of developing. At least it's coming off the Gulf there, Gulf Coast. That's 1 o'clock tomorrow, still relatively dry. The afternoon hours will develop those showers and storms, especially Tampa southward and inland tomorrow. That's the best chance for rain tomorrow. Now let's go out to tomorrow night. Still some rain tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. Mainly dry overnight. I think we'll get more showers and storms to fire up over the Gulf. And then as we get into Wednesday afternoon, that's 1 o'clock, that's when we'll really start to see more widespread rain, more heavier rain at the time. May end up again with those flood watches at that particular time. Remember, a flood watch, anything that says watch means something might happen. All right? A warning means something is happening. So we use the picture of a taco. Like a taco watch is when you have all of your ingredients around here. You don't have a taco yet, right? But you have the shells, the meat, the cheese, all that stuff, right? But when you have a full taco, that's a taco warning. Okay, so that's the difference between a watch and a warning. Severe thunderstorm watch means we could get some. Severe thunderstorm warning means we have one. All right, same thing with the flood watches and warnings. You'll probably get what we call flood advisories. And when you hear that, that means there is flooding in that area. Okay? Now, this is Wednesday at 6 p.m. Still some scattered showers and storms. It's kind of on and off rain. It's not going to rain all day, all night. It will be on and off. It'll be heavy at times. And then as we get into Thursday morning as well, we will flare this back up again. So, and I think this goes all the way through Friday. And that's, again, that's the forecast totals so far. Now, we're going to be talking about this on the news coming up here in just a little bit. Reaching out, you know, we're doing a lot of stories lately about drainage and what the cities have been doing. So we've been talking to folks about all of that, and we'll look into it. But let's just assume it's just going to rain, right? That's all this really is. We will watch for development. And again, because it's in close development, usually that's okay because it doesn't really have much time to get strong, right? When we're tracking storms that we had last year, they were coming across the Caribbean or coming all the way across the Gulf at us. Those systems have more time to get stronger. And even if something, because we don't know that this is even going to develop, but even if something does develop, it's going to be in close and really won't have time to get too strong. So that's good news. Again, we'll keep watching it. These models come in, well, about every 6 hours or so, some more than the others. And again, since we've seen here this afternoon, I'm just not seeing anything trending. The ensemble models are starting to produce a little bit more out over here.